on? What's crack-a-lackin', my peoples? How you doing? I'm Jerry Quickly, and this is happening. Today, we're just going to jump into it. Former Trump campaign manager and campaign chairman Paul Manafort, a couple months ago, after being convicted on 8 felony counts, turned state's evidence because he still had another trial pending with another dozen felony counts against him. And if Trump were to pardon him, there were still probably at least 24 state counts that he could be charged under. The net is he cold busted. Here's how you know Paul Manafort was cold busted, because they served him with a black man's search warrant. And what I mean by a black man's search warrant is, I don't know if y'all remember, but when Paul Manafort, when the FBI showed up to search his house, when Mueller's team showed up to search his place, it's a no-knock warrant. He woke up with the police standing over him while he was lying in bed with his wife in their PJs. And they were talking about, yeah, we're going to need to see that laptop over there. So they literally hooked Paul Manafort up with a black man search warrant. When you are a 70-year-old politically connected white multimillionaire, they very rarely use a black man search warrant. As soon as they served that up with Paul Manafort, you knew it was on. Well, he has decided to turn state's evidence and start singing like a canary, supposedly. But as it turns out, this entire time, or for significant portions of it, Paul Manafort and his legal defense team have been continuing their relationship with Donald Trump and Trump's legal defense team. It was normal, ordinary, legal, and not particularly eventful when Manafort and Trump were both targets of the investigation. When Manafort had been convicted and was looking at being convicted on more charges, and then became a state's witness and started providing testimony against Trump, that is the moment when the connection between Manafort's defense and Trump's defense should have ended. But it didn't. Manafort continued to go back like a little tiny, dirty little rat mole dog that he is. And that hairless albino rat mole dog known as Paul Manafort, the tax cheat and thief, decided to go back to Donald Trump's team and provide them all the information they could get their hands on. And if you look at it, that's exactly how Paul Manafort has conducted himself his whole life. When he became Trump's campaign chair, he started writing emails to his assistant, Rick Gates, talking about, hey, now that I'm campaign chairman of the Trump campaign, how can we use this to get whole with this Russian oligarch, Deripaska, who they owed millions and millions and millions of dollars to? How can we use this data to get whole, right? That's literally what he said in the emails. Now he's trying to use the data he was getting from Robert Mueller to get whole with Trump. He's a dirty, filthy little mole. We're taking your calls at 818-985-5735, 818-985-KPFK. Let's give a listen to Jeremy Bash. This is Jeremy Bash on CNN, and this is his take on exactly what the issue is with Paul Manafort, former chairman of the Trump campaign, being a dirty, filthy, stinking mole.
It's possible that Russia actually sent and dispatched Paul Manafort to the Trump campaign, or at least that once Paul Manafort attached himself to the Trump campaign, the Russians said, okay, our agent is now on the inside, and that they tried to manipulate the campaign, not just through propaganda, not just through Russia Today, but also through agents of influence. And I think ultimately when it comes down to it,
wait. So are you saying it's possible that they're going to want to find out if Manafort was a Russian plant? Is that one of the questions the investigation is going to try to answer?
Absolutely. They're going to want it. They're going to want to know whether or not there were ties between Paul Manafort and Russia, whether they were financial or otherwise, that caused him to, in effect, do Russia's bidding. And whether wittingly or unwittingly, in the same situation that Mike Flynn found himself in, whether he was doing work on behalf of the Russian Federation inside the Trump campaign. And then the ultimate question, Nicole, is whether or not Trump himself knew about it.
There it is. The ultimate question is whether or not Trump knew about it. This is the Russians might have been the ones to send Manafort to Trump to begin with. This has been the most successful intelligence operation in the history of the USSR, the Russian Republic. Most successful ever. They've never ran an intelligence, never in their lives, in multiple generations of Russian intelligence, have they ever succeeded in capturing the White House.
Hi, Jerry. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. I'm going to keep it very quick, and I'm going to let you do the talking. I think in some ways you are helping Trump, and the way you do it, and a lot of other radio show announcers do that, when you put down Christianity, you are helping Trump. A lot of people who are Christians, they listen to you, and they say, well, all the people that are against Trump, they hate Christianity, and therefore, no matter what Trump does, they support him. And the more you put down Christianity, the more their support for Trump, the stronger it becomes.
Can I ask what I said that made you feel I was putting down Christianity?
I was listening the other day. I know you were talking about the missionaries, and you called them, a bunch of names, the ones that are missionaries. But if I'm a first-time listener, listening to your show and hearing that from you, I think that you are
anti-Christianity,
and that was my feeling. That's what I got from your. Like I said, I'm going to let you think about this and talk about this because I'm not,
Sure, I understand. Yeah, you don't. I appreciate you sharing your point of view, John, and I thank you for your call. I thank you for your civility. We're taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. Again, that's 818-985-KPFK. The other day on air, I said that all missionaries are scum. There are no exceptions. I said that because it's true, and the reason it's true, John, you have to consider the history of missionaries. They've been around roughly for a little over 800 years. Okay, missionaries have been around for a little over 800 years. Anywhere in the world that you lived, if you were not a wealthy white Christian and the missionaries showed up, you were done, son. Your whole culture was over. The missionaries arrive and bring with them white supremacy, genocide, pestilence, plague, ecological and economic collapse, cultural collapse, rape, child rape, slavery, extraction of resources, colonialism. They were literally the planet-eating mechanism that was employed by capitalists and the church to wreak 800 years of horror on planet Earth. You cannot possibly have even a cursory knowledge or understanding of the history of missionaries on planet Earth and believe they're good people. They're good people if you support genocide, white supremacy, and colonialism. If you find that triumvirate of evil I just mentioned, if you find white supremacy, genocide, and colonialism, if you find that to be an odious pursuit as a human being, then you don't want to be a missionary. That's my take on it. Thanks for the call, John. 818-985-5735 is the phone number. That's 818-985-KPFK. Next up, let's talk to Cindy calling from Simi Valley. Cindy, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
You're absolutely correct about Christian missionaries destroying the lifestyle of Native peoples and killing their elders and then putting them on a dole and saying, look how good we are, we're giving you like a monthly stipend, But basically eradicating their livelihood. But anyway, I wanted to also comment that I think that as the Paul Manafort disclosure becomes known, I think that the theatrics at the border has increased as a method of distraction. And I also think that it is common for the government, the U.S. government, to put like rock throwers in place to make it appear to be a threat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, maybe people are paid to throw rocks or bottles so
Absolutely.
that they justify the tear gas. So that's my comment.
Thank you for the comment. I appreciate that. And what you're saying is there are many, many examples in history of that happening. The oppressive governments hiring troublemakers to stir things up. Y'all ever heard of someone named Karenga? Yeah, fancies himself as a professor. Yeah, what he did in the 1960s was he operated in violent service to the United States with his organization, U.S. Slaves, funded and paid for by the FBI. So the thought that Donald Trump or Pinkerton or Wackenhut or Black Cube doesn't have any operatives on the ground. I'll put it to you this way. Let's say you own a large private intelligence company. You know, like pick one. Like I said, Black Cube, Pinkerton, Wackenhut. Doesn't matter. You own some private security and intelligence outfit. Z Services, name one. CDMI, they're all out there. But you're not getting any government business or any government love. Maybe, you know, you got drunk the wrong day, said the wrong thing to the wrong general, and now, you know, you're shut out. Okay. Well, here's what you do to get back in the game. Okay. I, Jerry Quickly, own this private security company, and I have no issues whatsoever with harming Mexican people, Mexican nationals, other Central Americans. So what I do to increase my business and workflow with the United States is I hire 4 operatives. And I have those operatives, local, indigenous personnel in the region. I have those operatives stay close to different caravan leaders, very close, ingratiate themselves, learn what they can. Do not become leaders. Ingratiate yourself to the leadership. Learn everything you can. Live stream us whatever you can with this small, fancy, discreet equipment we give you. Give us all the data you can get. And I pay 4 people to do that, and you pay them a small salary, $3,000 or $4,000 a week, and you do it for 2 or 3 weeks. For the price of approximately $20,000 to $40,000, you're able to provide a nonstop flow of incredibly valuable intelligence to the United States government. And the first time you give it to them, they'll say, oh, well, that's kind of interesting, whatever, thank you. By the 10th or 15th or 20th information dump, they're saying, hey, what about tomorrow's dump? And all of a sudden, you're in business because now they're willing to pay you. So even if you were out of the business on the sidelines, the caravan represents an opportunity for you to buy your way back in if you run private intelligence outfits. Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Pick up a copy of Doctrine of Discovery if you want to know, the horrors that missionaries have brought. I mean, this is common knowledge. It's common knowledge. No one who can have knowledge of the history of missionaries can possibly say that they weren't sociopathic, genocidal scum. They were, and they are. And proof that they still are is the fact that this missionary named Chow went illegally, traveled to an island off the coast of India, and illegally presented himself to the last Neolithic tribe on earth because Chow wanted extra special right-hand man to Jesus points. So he wanted to bring Christianity to this remote island. These people wanted no contact with anyone. He knew, he had been studying this area and this region for years. He made several visits to the region over a period of years. He knew the history of this tribe. He knew he wasn't allowed. And he knew that he represented a genocidal threat to their existence by simply going on the island and appearing on the island. He was a genocidal threat because for thousands of years, the North Sentinelese people have existed in complete isolation. They do not have the same immune systems that we do. Our bodies are essentially filled with pestilences for which the North Sentinelese have no defenses. If you or I were to go to that island and share a bottle of Coke with one of them, we might have just genocided their entire culture from the face of the earth forever. He knew this missionary. He went anyway. And I believe the logic he employed was, well, I know that Jesus wants me to convert these innocent people to the horrors of Christianity. I know Jesus wants me to do that, so that's why I'm going to do it. And as far as them, maybe getting sick, don't worry. Jesus isn't going to let that happen. Well, what if they do get sick? Well, Jesus has spoken. This is the sociopathic genocidal loop that was looping. This piece of genocidal tape was just looping in this missionary's head. The same piece of tape that looped in all the tens of thousands of missionaries that came before him. How can your job be bringing white supremacy, genocide, and colonialism, and you take umbrage when you're properly referred to as scum? Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Let me see. Next up, let's talk to Jerry. And Jerry is calling from Thousand Oaks. Jerry, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Thank you. I just think that we need to identify the enemy precisely. While I agree with you about religion and genocide, I myself am the result of all the clashes of the culture. So I have the perspective of indigenous people as well as everybody else. And I'll say this, that the enemy that we all have, individually, collectively, privately, publicly, and every other ways, is ignorance. So religion comes from ignorance. Even science, even scientists claim to know what they're doing, but they don't, because nobody really knows what life is. And we think that we know, and we say knowledge is power, and we base our behavior on that. So whether it's religion or science or anything else, politics, economics, et cetera, it all boils down to the fact that the empire of ignorance, and all the empires are replicas, they're clones of the empire of ignorance. The human condition is, Buddha said that. Buddha said ignorance is the cause of all the suffering. And so we have to identify that, because if we don't, then we just keep repeating the same mistakes that have been done before, blaming religion or somebody else. It doesn't really help, because unless we accept the fact that we are ignorant and we do stupid, ignorant things, and that fear, selfishness, greed, violence, they're all the minions of the emperor of ignorance, we're not going to get anywhere. And you can't shoot ignorance. You cannot bomb it.
Yeah, so right. You can't.
It's useless.
Yeah, you can't beat your way out of ignorance. You can't slap your way out of it. You can't execute your way out of it.
Exactly. So we have to address it. We need instruments of mass instruction. We don't need weapons of mass destruction. We cannot. The problem of humanity cannot be overcome by bombing and war. As soon as we understand that, war becomes obsolete. In fact, Mr. Fuller said that. We have the technology, we have the means to make everyone wealthy today. Everyone can enjoy life.
Let me ask you something, you hippie freak engineer. Are you calling from inside of one of Buckminster Fuller's little bouncy domes right now?
No, I'm calling from the center of Mother Earth.
There you go.
Earth and ourselves are one.
Thank you, brother.
We are one being. Life on Earth and ourselves is one being. We belong to the Earth. Earth is not a property of anyone. It never will be. When people die, they can't take anything with them. Everything is left behind. If they're lucky, they take away some memories of having been loved, and that's about it. But otherwise,
brother, it's the only thing worthwhile on the face of the earth that we can ever do in our lifetimes is to love other folks and find ways to feel loved.
Exactly, that's it. So it's between love and power. You know, and power is all forms of power are expressions of ignorance and fear, because power is a response to fear. Oh, I don't know what life is, so I'm afraid of life. I don't want to be dying. I want to live forever. I want to go to heaven, whatever, you know, nirvana, satori, whatever, and happy hunting ground. And, hey, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure I have the power to control nature. Don't conquer nature. I'm going to conquer nature. Conquer the universe. Yeah, master of the universe. Yeah, comic book fan.
Right, exactly. How about this? Conquer your bed. Make your bed. Conquer that. How about that? How about this? Do something for someone that you don't know. Do something amazingly kind for someone that you don't know. Just see how that feels. You know, go out of your way and do something really kind for someone that you don't know, someone you may even think isn't worthy of your help. Try it out. See how it feels. Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Next up, let's talk to Naomi calling from Santa Monica. Naomi, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Hi, Jerry.
Hello.
Hi, this is my first time ever calling into KPFK, but I listen to you all the time.
Thanks for calling.
I want to talk about missionaries and religion.
Okay.
I was so excited to hear what you said about the missionaries because I go on these tirades too.
Mm-hmm.
I am so upset about these missionaries. They're so arrogant. They don't have any respect for the fact that these people have developed so much intelligence over the millennia to survive in their environments.
Right. They inherently know that outsiders are a threat and a danger. When there were two fishermen that, quote unquote, washed up on the beach, they didn't wash up on the beach. Those fishermen tried to sneak onto the island to poach animals. And they were immediately found and caught, and they were murdered. They were cut down in a hail of bullets. Again, in a hail of arrows. Same thing. The presence of the fishermen on that island for the illegal act of poaching represented a genocidal threat to those people. These people know inherently and intuitively that outsiders are a real danger. This is not stranger danger. They know inherently, intuitively that anyone who comes from off island is a unique danger. Now, how do they know that? Do they have slides and petri dishes? Do they know about about human biology in terms of germs that we carry? No, they know it through a different type of knowledge, a cumulative knowledge, an inherent knowledge. They know that we represent a danger, and their knowledge of our danger, they're just as secure in their knowledge from their intuitive perspective as we are in our scientific-based perspective.
Yes, and as far as religion, I agree that religion is a problem and it's dangerous, and it was a means to control people by controlling sex.
Right. The whole... Oh, my God, you people drag me down a rabbit hole. So, like, the whole thing, like, let's be clear, right? The only reason that priests were not allowed to marry is because of the way land was handed out. And the traditions that existed back then were such that if you had land and had children, your land would be transferred to your children upon your death. Your male children be transferred to you first and foremost. And if you didn't have any male kids, one of your female kids could have it as long as she had some valuable penis around controlling her. So literally the structure of the church of saying no, priests may not be married was a real estate transaction. And that anti-human position of saying you need to be connected to these communities, but you need to have a special kind of connection that you don't have a partner. And you need to talk to these people that are going through their struggles with their partners and everything else in life, and you need to do it from this kind of high moral bastion, sexless position. And to do so was to court disaster and horror. And we now know the fullness of the disaster and horror that have existed in many organized religions. And I'm certainly don't mean to focus on the Catholics in particular, but let me just say this, Catholics. If you are Catholic and you have never once had a single conversation, and I say this as a rape survivor, I say this as a survivor of childhood trauma. If you are Catholic and you have never once had a conversation with a single church official about the sexual assaults of children in your church, you have effectively facilitated child rape. If you believe you have no responsibility to even have a discussion with church leadership about the blatant, wanton, pervasive child rape that happens in these institutions. I say these institutions because it's not unique to the Catholic Church. We can't continue to carry them on our backs, these parasites and these pedophiles. We can't continue to carry them on our backs just because they wear a priest's frock. This is not the goddamn 1950s or the 1400s. We're done. Leave our children alone.
Yes. Yes, Jerry. So keep it up, and I hope that nobody demoralizes you and tries to stamp out the fire.
Well, thanks. They try every day, but it just makes me tougher. Thanks for the call. Appreciate hearing from you. Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. I'm Jerry. Quickly, next up, let's talk to Rubina calling from La Cañada. Rubina, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Yes, hi, Jerry. So I was listening at the beginning of your talk show that I wanted to know if I understood you right about Trump. Were you saying that Manafort was helping the Russians to get into the election process? So Trump didn't know about it at the beginning, but then during the campaign, he kind of found out later about it, so he didn't mind being helped by the Russians to get elected?
Well, here's what Jeremy Bash, he was formerly with the CIA, director of personnel there, what he said essentially was that Paul Manafort had a long pre-existing relationship with the Russians on a variety of policy and lobbying issues and political issues. And he was particularly close with a couple of oligarchs that are in Putin's inner circle, Deripaska, Oleg Deripaska being the main one. Putin had received tens of millions of dollars from these oligarchs over a period of a little bit over a decade because of that close relationship and because Paul Manafort had essentially become a multimillionaire and did much of it with paying little or no taxes because of the ways he essentially manipulated and violated banking laws and income reporting laws. And because of his deep connection with the Russians, the CIA, or at least Jeremy Bash, posits the Russians' best Trump apparatus may have in fact been initiated by the Russians. Mm-hmm. But whether or not it was initiated by, now that's all speculation, right? That's an analysis. It's not, there's no proof of that yet. But even if that analysis is incorrect, what is clear and obvious and what has come to light through what has been revealed by the Mueller investigation and the indictments is that the Trump administration there was a direct line between the Trump administration and the Russians that went through Manafort, Flynn, et al. It likely went through Stone, Corsi, et al., and WikiLeaks, et al., and the Russians. And this is why he has been in meltdown mode, attacking Mueller constantly on social media, on Twitter, attacking him constantly. And in addition now to Manafort having been a mole and giving Trump's attorneys info on what was happening with the investigation, now he has milquetoast Iowa Lurch, a.k.a. Matthew Whitaker, who has been illegally installed as the head of the Justice Department. And because he oversees Rod Rosenstein, who oversees the Mueller investigation, he most assuredly has been briefed by Rod Rosenstein on the Mueller investigation. And we have no reason to believe that this plant, Milquetoast Lurch, a.k.a. Matthew Whitaker, that Donald Trump's illegal appointment of Whitaker didn't result in Whitaker also being a mole and giving Trump info. But he's so guilty. Trump is essentially a patient on a table for a biopsy, and the doctor opens him up, and instead of like, oh, we're going to fix this one thing, it's it's like the breath leaves the body of the doctor, and he says, oh my goodness, it's not just cancer, it's everywhere. And essentially, any investigation into Trump reveals the cancer of his criminality. So whether or not Manafort had been sent by the Russians or whether or not he was just used by the Russians is almost irrelevant. In some ways, it's worse if he was sent by the Russians because it gives an indication of how successful their intelligence operation was. But either way, it had the same effect on the rest of us. Our country has essentially become a constitutional garbage dump political fire.
I see. Thank you.
Thanks for the call. Appreciate hearing from you. Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Y'all pretty much ignored me when I talked about Ivanka Trump and her emails last week. I think maybe this might I don't know. Maybe y'all react to this like I did. Maybe you won't. I don't know. This is from Good Morning America, and this is Ivanka Trump, and this is her asserting she tells literally about 17 lies in this short clip. And this is Ivanka Trump asserting that there's no equivalency whatsoever between Ivanka Trump's private email server and Hillary Clinton's private email server. There's no equivalency. Next question.
It has come to light that early in the administration, you used your private email for White House business. Your father had taken Hillary Clinton to task for this. So how did you wind up in a similar situation?
Well, there really is no equivalency. All of my emails that relate to any form of government work, which was mainly scheduling and logistics and managing the fact that I have a home life and a work life, are all part of the public record. They're all stored on the White House system. So everything has been preserved, everything's been archived. There just is no equivalency between the two things.
So people see it as the same.
People who want to see it as the same see it as the same.
Everyone.
But the fact is that we all have private emails and personal emails to coordinate with our family. We all receive content to those emails.
Thief.
And there's no prohibition from using private email as long as it's archived and as long as there's nothing in it that's classified.
But your father hammered Hillary Clinton on this.
It's illegal.
It was criminal. She should be locked up.
Hillary Clinton is guilty. She knows it. The FBI knows it. The people know it.
In my case, all of my emails are on the White House server. There's no intent to circumvent. And there were mass deletions after a subpoena was issued. My emails have not been deleted, nor was there anything of substance, nothing confidential that was within them. So there's no connection between the two things.
So the idea of lock her up doesn't apply to you?
No.
So literally every single claim made by Ivanka Trump in that interview, there is no proof for her claims. None. All we have is her word that I didn't share classified information. All we have is her word that these emails were all archived on the White House server. All we have is her word. All we have is her word that she didn't delete any emails. All we have is her word that she didn't share these inappropriately. Literally, she's saying, you need to take me at my word and move on. It's ridiculous. Of course there's going to be an investigation because they tried to send the former Secretary of State to prison for similar activities. Ivanka Trump's private email server is a goddamn private email server. She used it in the wake of her father's illegal placement as president, knowing full well that Hillary Clinton had been pilloried for doing the same thing. She said, well, I'm Ivanka, so it's different. Yes, I used to hang out with Quincy Jones. Why? Why are you asking about that? Taking your calls here at 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Next up, let's talk to Mike calling from Santa Fe. Mike, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Hey, Jerry, thank you so much for taking the call. Yeah, I really appreciate your coverage on this missionary. And sometimes, in response to the other caller who was talking about peace and love, sometimes bows and arrows are necessary, and it's just a matter of self-defense. Religion has always been used by the ruling classes, and stuff. So, I have a question.
Yeah, please go. Can I just say one quick? You said something that really reminded me of something. I want to interject very briefly, which is that when Chow, that missionary, showed up on the island, essentially, imagine an island where you live peacefully with your people and a zombie from The Walking Dead shows up. And you know that zombie is filled with pestilence and disease. And if he bites one of you, your tribe is done. That's essentially what John Chow was. He was like a walking dead zombie to these people. He was a pestilence that threatened to wipe them out. So, sorry, and please make your point.
If they had done the same thing to Cortez and to Cristobal Colon,
he was the smallpox-filled blankets. The missionary was the smallpox-filled blankets.
Oh, I'm sorry. In this time of false equivalencies, when Trump is trying to say that the fascists and Antifa are equally as bad hombres and stuff, hooky, and Clinton is trying to blame migrants for right-wing populism in Europe. I was in a conversation with some workmates, and some of these workmates really respect your opinions. And I was telling them today, I was saying, you know what, can you just stop the homophobia? I don't care if that's what you use. You can't use that word around me. I don't want
no, that's
to use that
like,
in any
look,
language.
I stand shoulder to shoulder with my LGBTQ brothers and sisters, same team, same side.
I had to put defend LGBTQ plus rights on my hard hat because, and so they were saying, well, if we can't use these homophobic languages, then you can't talk smack about religion. Now, can you tell the listeners why that's a bunch of false equivalency madness bull?
Absolutely. Happy to. Thanks for the call, buddy. And the reason why it's totally inappropriate, in the first place, check your head. I don't know how you can say that you're progressive and you want us all to evolve in better futures and more justice for us while you attack any community, anywhere on the planet. And in this case, the LGBTQ community. And if someone takes offense at your homophobic slurs and says, hey, I'm not, and sounds like the guy was saying there's a work environment. And they say, hey, yo, you can't talk that way about that. You can't talk that way about that community of people. If your response is, well, then you can't talk to me about my religion, what you're fundamentally saying is there's all these ass-backwards interpretations that have been offered of my religion that says it's okay to attack this group of people. So if you're telling me I can't attack that group of people, then my religion is off limits as well. Well, here's the difference between your goddamn worthless religion and the LGBTQ community. And I say worthless religion because if you're using it to attach in part to attack the LGBTQ community, it is worthless. You are misguided and you have lost the thread of your religion. And if you're using that religion, say, oh, well, I get to attack them, and if I'm not allowed to attack them, you can't talk about my religion. You are the definition of a conflicted heterosexual. You are the definition of someone who does not understand justice, who does not understand merit, who does not understand responsibility, and who does not understand injustice. You may not attack your LGBTQ brothers and sisters and somehow believe that you're contributing to a progressive cause. What do you hope to gain by going after anyone who's under the boot of white supremacy and misogyny and homophobia and xenophobia? We're in this together, y'all. And if you have a problem with the LGBTQ community, you're not on my team. Come on now, get on the team. You ain't got no reason to hate on nobody. We can do this together. Locked arms, locked hips, no daylight between. Let's do this. 818-985-5735 is the phone number. That's 818-985-KPFK. I want to play this next clip. This is from MSNBC. This is from the Rachel Maddow Show, and former U.S. Attorney Barbara McQuade explains exactly the difficulties with Paul Manafort deciding that he was going to be a mole for Trump.
I don't know that I have ever seen this happen. I think this is even potentially an act of obstruction of justice. If it goes that far, then it would be because he's prohibited from engaging in other crimes. But I don't know that it would be even contemplated that he would be then feeding information to the other side. A couple of things that ordinarily prevent this. When someone switches sides, you refer to it as flipping because you now assume that they are all in. The agreement says you will cooperate truthfully, fully, completely, and be forthcoming with all information. Some prosecutors refer to it as joining Team USA. So the idea that you would be double dealing and sharing information with other subjects of an investigation is really highly unusual. And the other thing is, to the extent a lawyer was involved in a joint defense agreement where they were sharing information, usually that lawyer says, we have to withdraw once my client decides to cooperate because we recognize that our interests may diverge. And so ethically, typically, the lawyer understands that he needs to be out of that picture as well. So incredibly unusual. And I think that it's quite possible, if information is being fed in either direction, that there could be an investigation for obstruction of justice here.
Indeed. That was Barbara McCrae, former U.S. attorney, on the Rachel Maddow Show yesterday evening. Next up, let's talk to Elisa. Elisa's calling from Compton. Elisa, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Hi, Jerry. Just a couple of things. It's just every day that goes by, more and more, as we all know, I mean, I'm speaking to the choir here, but just more and more completely crazy stuff comes from the Trump administration. And if you get any of the obvious Trump support callers, which you do get from time to time, ask them, what exactly does he and this regime or administration, so-called, need to do that is going to get you to say, okay, now he's wrong. Because you know what? A lot of us do support Democrats, some of us don't. But I think most Democrats, had there been a Democrat in the White House being so completely crazy, everybody would have said by now, get him out. Just get him out. He's an embarrassment. I mean, I would. And secondly, about the religious people, I have a lot of religious friends who just have a really weird selective outrage. I'm not judging them. But, you know, they're divorced 3 times, living with some dude. You know, they've had a bunch of kids without being married. I mean, which I'm not judging them. Yet they have all this going on, yet they have a real beef with the gay people. So they don't even have a leg to stand on because they're living all kinds of, you know, according to their religion, immoral lifestyles and doing immoral stuff. Yet they specifically go after gays.
Yeah.
So it's just really weird.
Yeah,
anyway,
the inherent contradiction in Christians, look, only extreme zealots essentially, I'm only going to have sex once I'm married. Yeah, you're an extremist zealot in our society. That's fine. Do what you want to do. Make yourself happy. But the vast majority of us fall short of the glory, so to speak, because the vast majority of us are actively involved in intercourse long before we're married. But and I don't care either way because I'm not Christian. But for Christians, that's a big deal. But it's okay for them to live their lives and figure out what they want from their partners sexually and what makes them happy and what is fulfilling for that important physical side of their lives. It's fine for them to figure that out in violation of the Bible, but F those gays.
Yeah, and just one really last quick thing. It's like I have a friend who's been divorced 3 times. Okay, that's what he thinks of marriage in his personal life, yet he doesn't want gay people to get married. Well, who is he to judge?
Yeah. Exactly. Like, how is it bothering you that someone is married to anyone? Why do you care? Why do you care whether or not a child in a park in Shanghai right now is playing frisbee or playing baseball? It shouldn't matter to you. Move on with your life. Thanks for the call. Appreciate hearing from you. Taking your calls here at 818-985-5738. Be kind, man. Just be kind. It's real simple. My friend Gavin is... he's a frontman for a band called Bush. And Gavin wrote something to me a while back, a little bit over a year ago, in the wake of Chris Cornell's death. We love you, Chris, and we miss you, buddy. And Gavin wrote something that I often sign off the show with, which is be kind. Be kind to people because you never know what burdens they're carrying. And that simple statement couldn't be more true. And it couldn't be an easier way to access your own humanity. Just try being kind, right? Don't lead with the bile and the vomit and the preloaded whatever. Take people at their face value. Be kind. Assume the best. Taking your calls, 818-985-5735. That's 818-985-KPFK. Next up, let's talk to John calling from downtown LA. John, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
Hey, Jerry, I love the show. I just want to say this real quick. This old-timey song that can handle all this with these old fake Christians. Sweep around your own front door before you try to sweep around mine.
Yeah.
And I've read the Quran. I have read the Hindu Sikh. I have read the Torah, the Talmud, and the Bible, and I can speak paleo. These people with all of these religions don't even really know the word. You got to go back to the original language, and when you do that, you'll find out you all been taught A backwards.
Right. Right. There it is, man. Thanks for the call. Appreciate hearing from you. If whatever, however you're living your life, with religion, not religion, philosophy, no philosophy, by the way, not having philosophy is a philosophy. However you're living your life, if there is not room in your life to be kind to people you don't know, just, have a think on that a little bit, all right? We're going to try to squeeze in another call real quick. Let me see. Next up, let's talk to Lodi calling from Temecula. Lodi, welcome to the show. What's the dealio?
It's Lottie.
Lottie. Sorry, Lottie.
What's going on, bud? No, we're just talking about how, be more sensitive and things like that. And the weirdest part about it, we're talking about, closed-minded people. Like, when my son, we're thinking about having a circumcision for my son, and we're getting the opinions of my family that are, they're Republicans and, they're kind of closed-minded. And they were heated, and it was so strange because, it's crazy. It's like, you're talking about why do you care about people getting married? It's like, it's crazy how many people were so invested in my son.
Right, how emotionally attached they are to their positions.
It was crazy. I just wanted to share that. It's like, it's crazy dealing with people that are closed-minded, and it goes into even the smallest things as my son's penis,
It goes even in your son's tiny little penis. It even manufactures itself there. Thanks for the call. I'm just going to call you Lodi because I don't know. Laddie, okay. Thanks for calling Lodi, New Jersey. Appreciate hearing from you. My name is Jerry Quickly. This is happening, and I really appreciate y'all all joining me to pilot the Starship this afternoon. And I want to remind you, we're getting a lot of folks turning on to the YouTube channel. So I want to remind you, check us out on YouTube. You'll check out this show. And if you check out this show today on YouTube, go to YouTube, search for Jerry Quickly. You'll see it right there. And just click on subscribe. We'll send you a notice whenever we post new videos, which is every day. And today, if you look, you'll see that today I decided to not wear my tired ass human hair wig. I took it off today. Today I'm rocking a baseball cap. Know what I'm saying? That's it, y'all. The show is produced by myself and Jose Benavidez. Our board operator is Lizette. And if you want to follow me online, you can. In addition to YouTube, you can go to Twitter and use the handle @JerryQuickly on Twitter. Again, that's @JerryQuickly on Twitter. And you can also check us out on SoundCloud, SoundCloud.com/TIHLive, SoundCloud.com/TIHLive. These shows is produced and put online every day. That's it, y'all. Till tomorrow. I'm out.